Welcome back to another Transformers Forge to Fight episode. And the goal for today's episode is to continue what I said in the last episode. Focus on 100%ing the quests in Act 3 to the best I can. And as I said, I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to basically focus on 100%ing these quests one by one in each episode just to prolong the series because I'm in no rush to finish the main story of this game. I want to take my time, and that's what I'm going to do. And let's dive into it. And of course, from today's episode title, you already know what I'm going to talk about for the topic. And I want to talk about that Maximum Series Spider Man figure. After everything I saw in the last couple weeks with that whole thing, I was like, you know what? I talk about action figures on this channel. I might as well bring it up because, you know, I've never made a video on the topic relating to the Spider-Man. And I kind of just want to do it in today's episode of Transformers Force to Fight because, at this point, these episodes where I just focus on progression content, I basically turn them into a podcast. So, all right, let's get into it. So, I think it was a month ago or 2 months ago now. I forgot when it was. I think it was in January. There was a Hasbro Pulse live stream where they revealed this Maximum series Spider-Man figure. And I remember at the time when I saw this, I was pretty excited because this was a new line and it felt like finally after, all these years of Marvel Legends under Hasbro, they're giving us a line of figures that will come with more accessories, which was the big problem with a lot of the normal Marvel Legend figures is that they don't offer that much accessories in the box. Sometimes, once in a while, you see Marvel Legend figures come with a good amount of accessories. The two that I can remember, because they were more recent, is the Black Widow figure from the I think it was the 60th anniversary Avengers line of figures that came with a good amount of accessories for Black Widow, where you pretty much have the complete package for Black Widow. You have the figure, you have all the accessories that you need for her. And there was another figure I remember that came out. I think it was her sister, right? Forgot her name. She was part of the Puff Adder build wave, and he also had a good amount of accessories that I think is complete for that character in action figure form. So once in a while, you do see some Marvel Legend figures come with a good amount of accessories where it feels complete to the character. And you don't see that all the time. So now that they have basically created a new subline, which I believe this is what it is, I don't think this is going to be the last figure in this line. This is just a start. They said that the Spider-Man figure is a start. Yeah, it is. Now I remember. They said that this is the beginning, so they're going to start off with the Spider-Man figure. And I thought to myself, okay, that's cool. This is something that I think a lot of people might be interested in because, Spider-Man figure that comes with, web effects, interchangeable hands, an alternate head sculpt, all the things that you would want a Spider-Man figure to come with that they usually don't give, you know, a lot of this kind of accessories to. And, there have been a few Spider-Man figures, or not a few. I would like to say like a good amount of them that have released over the years that don't come with web effects, right? Which is really strange to me because it's like, this is a Spider-Man figure. Why does he not have any web effect parts included? I think it's standard that he should come with web effects for any Spider-Man related characters that use that power. Because why would you not give it to them? And even if you're going to reuse those effect parts, how hard is it to just reuse it with every other figure? So That doesn't really surprise me that they're including that with this figure. And from what I can tell, the web effects, I think, are the same ones that they've been using for a long time now. So nothing too crazy there. Now, what's interesting is that they did do some interesting adjustments to the mold of this figure, which I did notice. And, excuse me, his arm area is removable. You can swap out that arm for like a different arm piece. I think it was the arm piece that had the silver armor looking thing, and his hands are not covered in his gloves. Now, I don't know what the source material is for this Spider Man figure. I don't know where it's from. I've never read this comic, so I'm not familiar with the whole, like, that, whatever that is. But it's cool that you can do that, right? These accessories do pretty much add more to the character and to the figure. So for what do you call it? Figure photography, the thing that I like to do. You got options with what you can use on the figure. So I do like the fact that they're putting that into consideration. And I hope that whatever other figure comes after, they do the same thing too. So whoever the next character is, they'll come with a good amount of accessories that is enough for the character. So in that sense, when you put it into that point of view as a new subline, it's not a bad idea, right? Iron Man comes with all his effect parts that you need. Captain America comes with everything you need. Even though Captain America is pretty much like simplistic, you don't need too much of them. However, if this Maximum Series Captain America figure, if they do make one, is similar to the Marvel Select version, where he comes with pretty much everything, right? Kind of like that version. Yeah, that's cool. I'm down for that. Of course, I would have said that I'm down for these figures if the price was not where it's at. And that was the whole thing that I was focusing on, I think, the last 2 weeks when the news came out about the price. And the price of this figure, I've seen both sides of the argument. Um, I You know me at this point. If you follow my channel for action figure stuff, you know how I sometimes talk about the pricing on figures, especially like, DC Multiverse with their collector edition figures, right? And how I feel about those. So, the answer to where I lean towards with how I feel about the pricing on this Spider Man figure, you already know what that is. It's not worth $50. Okay? It is not. There is no way, all right, that those accessories cost an extra 25 more dollars. That is insane. And there was this other thing that was mentioned where it's like, "Oh, you don't have the figure in hand. You don't know what this figure is going to be like." Okay, I don't. But it's a Marvel Legend figure. And you know what a Marvel Legend figure feels like. I have Marvel Legend figures in my collection. Not a whole lot of them, but I have a good amount of them, right? I know what they feel like in plastic. So, you know, when you're paying $50 for this thing, you know what you're going to expect because it's a Marvel Legend figure, regardless. It's just under a different. I think it's still called Marvel Legends. It's just now referred to as the Maximum series. But no matter how they change the name, okay, just like how DC Multiverse Collector Edition, right? It's still the same build quality as a Marvel Legend. Nothing changes. The plastic doesn't change. You know? Like, I don't think it would. And I know it won't because it's freaking Hasbro. And when does Hasbro ever change the quality of their plastic with whatever they make? Usually, when they make anything, they want to try to reuse the material that they're using more often than, experiment and play with new material. Right? So, oh, okay. That happened. So The reason why I don't think it's worth $50 is because it doesn't look like something that's worth $50. It just looks exactly like a regular Marvel Legend, which it is. It just so happens to have a little bit of an improvement with the way that the legs and the arms move and the neck area, right? Because they said that they changed the neck. These slight adjustments do not out what's that word called? Wait, what's that term? Okay, I forgot the term. But it doesn't equate. Oh, there we go. It doesn't equate to $50. And when you add all those accessories up in that box, at most, if this thing was $35, I can see it being $35. But to me, I think at most this thing should have been $30. Not even 35. Like if we're gonna talk about like a just price for this thing, $30. There's no way it is 50. And there are some figures that I've seen cost $50, okay, from other companies. And if you take those figures, good example, let's take an SH Figure Arts, right? A $50 SH Figure Art, and put it next to this thing. You know for a fact that depending on what that figure is from SH Figure Arts, whatever line that is from, it will definitely have better articulation. And at most, it'll probably come with a good amount of accessories. If Bandai's not being greedy in that sense, because nowadays Bandai's also being pretty freaking greedy with some of their releases, where certain characters from certain anime properties that they're using for figures don't come with much accessories at all, right? So there's that problem. And now you have a company that's charging $25 more for a figure that doesn't equate to that much. I can understand why certain figures cost like $40. Like for example, um, like a Red Hulk, right? The Red Hulk is a big size figure. He's the deluxe size figure. So, when I look at that, I'm like, okay, $40. That's how much those things cost. I can understand it. I still don't think it's worth $40 because at one point those deluxe figures used to cost like $30, but then they went up in price, which I think is ridiculous. But you know, with the way that things are priced now, I can understand big size figures costing more. Because if you think about it, you look at the mega size figures from DC Multiverse, they're $40 figures. That's understandable because they're big. But a regular size Marvel Legend figure that only comes with that amount of accessories, how is that 50? I don't understand the jump in price there. And to me, the reason why they're charging this much is because they're trying to rip you off. That's the simple answer to this. They are trying to rip you off. Because here's the reality of this. No matter how you justify that, okay, look, even if you're like a hardcore Spider-Man fan, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy this figure regardless because I love Spider-Man. You know what happens after this? It just means that if they make their money from this, they will start charging $50 for every other action figure that they make from this Maximum series line. No matter what it is. It doesn't have to be Spider-Man. I don't think that's a good future that I want to see where, you know, if I want to buy an Iron Man figure that's not, too costly and comes with everything, now I got to drop $50 for it when I know in reality it could probably be at most like $30 to $35, right? So I don't know how you can defend this. And I think most people are not defending this, which is why it's not selling out because people are realizing you're being ripped off. And look, if you did pre-order the figure, that's your choice, right? I'm not gonna, no one's gonna stop you from pre-ordering what you want to buy. It's your money. You do what you want to do. However, there's a precedent that I think is being set here where you can't allow them to get away with upcharging prices for figures that do not cost that much. Like, there are certain figures from the DC line that I feel like are not worth that price at all. There are figures that I think from SHF that shouldn't cost that much either. So I'm going to continue this next part. Actually, I want to continue this thought before I end the episode. But I hope you get where I'm coming from because you know I've been collecting action figures not that long. I would say like 5 years now, ever since I started with DC Multiverse. And within the span of these 5 years, I'm not going to say that I understand everything that happens in this industry, but one thing I do know is that when you start trying to nudge price increases of action figures into the market and trying to get your consumers to pay for that price that most people know is not worth the cost, it sets a bad precedent. Because I don't want to see the next Maximum Series figure and be like, oh, great, now another one comes out. And it's like, oh, it's $50. It's already expensive to spend like, you know, $25 to $27 on a regular Marvel Legend figure or anything else around that price point. And, sometimes when you buy like expensive sets that cost like what, $80 to $100, right? Like those 3 packs. And that's another thing right there. Those 3 packs, some of those 3 packs that they make don't come with much accessories either. And they're like charging you like close to $100 at that point, right? So, but the difference is you're getting 3 figures, right? The price of 3 figures put into one. But in this case, it's not even the price of 2 figures put into one. It's the price of 1 figure, and somehow, in Hasbro's logic, the accessories cost another extra $25. Or something equates to another $25. That's what I don't get. But there's another thing that I do want to correlate here. I don't think it's... well, I could say it is possible. The other excuse for why they're charging so much is because they can always use that licensing argument, which I don't really think is true. But it could be true, it could be untrue, but I've noticed this pattern with a lot of the Lego superhero sets recently, where when you look at some of the Lego, or majority of Lego Marvel sets and Lego DC sets, and even Star Wars, the prices of those sets have jumped up quite a lot. That now they cost more than they used to. And I've taken comparisons of certain sets that they've made and compared it to Lego's own sets that they've made in their own IPs like Ninjago. And for that same price, the piece counts are lackluster with the licensed sets. And then the sets that Lego own on their own IPs and franchises come with more. It's really interesting how that exists there. So I wouldn't be surprised if what Hasbro's doing here is the same thing as what Lego's doing with their Lego licensed sets from, properties like Marvel and DC. It's not too far off. So, yeah, I I don't think that this is a good thing. And honestly, no matter how much I want the Spider-Man figure, I'm gonna be honest. I do want this figure. I like the way that it looks. Well, except for that unmasked head sculpt. That unmasked head sculpt looks kind of weird. But in terms of like a Marvel Legends Spider-Man figure, it looks good for Marvel Legends standards. And I could probably do some really cool photos with it. If I have the figure, of course. But it is not worth the cost. So that's where I stand with what I think about the pricing. And there's something else that I do want to mention as well. And this was the comment that I believe Toy Games brought up in one of the videos I watched. And if you don't know who Toy Gains is, he's also a uh, action figure content creator. And I like his videos, so I follow the guy. Um, he mentioned this really good point where it's like, where do you get the thought process that the plastic quality will change? And when I read that, I was like, yeah, I don't think the plastic quality would never change. And we're going back to that topic again because I talked about it earlier. And there was this live stream that if you follow this stuff, you would have seen it. It was hosted by Unparalleled Universe. He was talking to Ryan Tink. And there's like this point at the end of the, like, I think it was closer to the end of the stream where he asked him about the plastic. And everyone caught wind of that. Because even Ryan himself said this, that they felt like they did a better job with this figure, but in terms of the plastic, it didn't change. And, it makes sense to say that because why would they change the plastic quality on how they make these figures? You don't see Bandai doing that with SHF. You don't see McFarlane changing their plastic quality with their figures. In fact, the plastic quality, when they do change it, it doesn't go up. It goes down. Because in the end of the day, companies like to cost cut. They don't want to spend money on newer material. In fact, they want to try to cost cut as much as they can to save on costs and use cheaper material. That's why, like, a good example would be, the sword accessories that McFarlane used to give in the beginning, where they were like actual solid plastic, and how you see that after a couple months or some of the newer releases after, in that period of time when we're talking about like the beginning, swords started to use soft PVC. When you go from solid plastic to soft PVC that you easily warp, that just shows you that the plastic quality that they're using for those accessories went down, not up. So to me, why would Hasbro ever go up? Hasbro would only do it for something that maybe costs like, I don't know, over $200, $300 maybe at most. If they do, I don't know if they do, but I would assume they probably would in that sense because they're charging a higher premium. But for a figure that costs $50, no. This is one of those instances where it's just, let's upcharge the consumer and rip people off and just sell it. And they know that they could potentially get away with it because guess what? It's a Spider-Man figure, and everybody loves Spider-Man. But I think this time around, I don't think it's working. Because most of us who collect action figures know that this is not good. And that is basically everything I'm going to say about what I think about this whole thing. Because I felt like I just needed to get this off my chest. Because, I could have made a whole separate video about it, but I've decided to just talk about it in today's episode. Since, I like to yap, right? And I hope you kind of get where my opinion is. I hope it makes sense. Um, I hope I did a good job explaining my opinion. I don't know if I did. Um, but if you agree to disagree, do share in the comments below, I guess. I'm always down to hear other people's thoughts about this as well, and I've seen other people's thoughts about this in the comments, and it seems like a lot of people do not like the pricing of this figure, and it makes sense. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Transformers Forged to Fight. I didn't want to make this too long. Next episode, we'll continue whatever I'm doing here, right? 100%ing these quests. And I will talk about a different topic as usual. So, all right. With that said, if you found today's video enjoyable, give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more Transformers Forged to Fight content or action figure content, as I also do on this channel, you can. You don't have to, because in the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.